Hello, thanks so much for looking in today. I am Andy and I hope you are good. I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Bit of a grey day in Wales today. In this video, ley lines, Merlin, and stay tuned for a 5-card spread at the end. We will have a look. Gonna drive into town now, into Carmarthen, the land of Merlin. Or further into the land of Merlin, I should say, because this kind of counts as the land of Merlin in lots of ways. And this time I'm going to take a road that I haven't taken you guys on before. I think maybe you'd like to see it. It's a very, very ancient road. It would have actually been there exactly as it was in the time of Merlin. That's the great thing about it. And essentially it follows a ley line. Most of the roads around here do, but particularly the ancient ones. The thing about ley lines is, though, they are straight lines, and I probably wasn't clear enough about this in videos I've done about them in the past. It's electromagnetic energy, magnetic more than anything else, and it relates to the magnetism of the earth. Because it's earth magic, you know, it's all goddess energy that we're talking about here. But in a mountainous, hilly place like Wales, you can't really build a straight road as such. The one we're going to go on today goes up over a mountain and it's pretty straight, but it bends round. It has to. Roads just have to. So none of the ones round here anyway exactly follow a ley line. But these roads formed because this was the way people took large amounts of cows, cattle, sheep, whatever, animals, took them to market or brought them home when they bought them or whatever, to put them there on the farm and have them grazing. So if you can imagine kind of trying to get a lot of animals and there's just you with your stick there trying to persuade these animals to go somewhere, sure, you can kind of encourage them to go the right way, but they're always going to wander a bit from side to side. And the thing is that animals are naturally drawn to ley lines. They don't question these things like we do. I guess a lot of you have got pets who, you know, like my cats, they'll be staring at something and I can't see it. Even though I do clairvoyance regularly, I can't see it. But when I tune in, I just know they're seeing something, and they're tuned in all the time because they don't know any different. And so it is with ley lines. Anyway, we're going up and up, because this road goes up and over the top, and it is very far from being a straight road. As you can see, it bends all over the place. But this really is a road that got its pattern, got its shape from animals trying to follow ley lines and just having to go around obstacles and hills and mountains and things. It's also a very wet day, but this is really natural weather for Wales. It is a very rainy kind of a country. Part of me sometimes wishes it wasn't. Doesn't make it all that easy to work with nature, but there's a great tradition in witchcraft of letting yourself feel the elements, letting yourself be a bit uncomfortable if you need to. Because what we're really looking at here when we look at bad weather, persistent bad weather, and stormy weather, and we're having big storms at the moment, is actually the forces of nature. And however big and clever we think we are as the human race, there is no overcoming the forces of nature. They just are what they are. And every time we think we know what we're doing, they take over and they show us very much who is the boss. And the boss is the goddess, Mother Nature. Who else? At the time I'm making this video, there is the Ever Given tanker, great big huge tanker, which is, I think it's got 20,000 containers on board, stuck in the Suez Canal. One end of it's in Asia and the other end of it is in Africa, because of the way it's skewed across the canal. And it's skewed and the owners are screwed because there's nothing much they can do about it. And it was a gust of wind that did that. A gust of wind that's now holding up 1/8 of the world's total shipping traffic, exports, that kind of thing. So Mother Nature just has a way of winning. There's just no stopping her. And now we're up on top. I think you can see this road is starting to straighten out a bit. It still curves and twists. It does that all the way. That's how it is. But we're up on the top now. And that was the best way, really, to move cattle in a straight line as the crow flies, or the straightest line possible. Just to go up and over the obstacles. Deal with it that way. I don't know how much you can see because of all the mist that's in front of us, but there's great big tall hills that we're going to go up and over now, and they're not actually all that tall because we're already pretty much on top, but still we can't see the tops of them because it's covered in mist. And that mist is, as well as a natural phenomenon, it's a great kind of spiritual protection. During the Second World War, 39 to 45, whenever something of spiritual importance was really under threat from aerial bombing from planes, a mist would come around it. Several English cathedrals were saved that way. Just this mist came down, and the Nazi bombers couldn't see how to bomb it. And actually in 1940, during the Battle of Britain, there came a time when King Arthur is thought to have come back, as he always said he would come back, in England's greatest hour of need. And the Battle of Britain in 1940 was really a battle for Britain. It was a time when it began to look as if the Nazis might very well win and actually take over Britain. And one of the pilots flying Spitfires out over the sea defending the coastline was in a terrible battle with a Luftwaffe plane. And just when he thought he'd had it, just when he thought he was going to get shot down for sure, like he knew he was going to die, it was that bad, on his radar screen there appeared something that didn't look like anything really, and it slowly took form, and it was in the shape of what we think of as a knight with that kind of helmet on and everything. And it's very widely believed that that was King Arthur showing himself. So the mists we're looking at here, very, very cosmic, very protective, and a feature of life in Wales, a feature of life in the lands where Merlin tended to live. He didn't only live in Wales. He lived a lot of his life in this part of Wales. He lived in North Wales too. And he lived in a land that at the time was called Caledonia, which went right the way up to what we think of as Scotland in modern days. Right now the car is misting up so badly I might have to turn around and go another way. That's what happens if you're not meant to get somewhere, you just don't get there. That's how magic works. It's not always convenient and it's not always fun, but it does work. Like, for example, if you burn resin incensers where you get a little charcoal disc, put it in a metal dish or on a hearth or just somewhere that's not going to get burned by it, you get this red hot disc and then you put resin incensers on it. I do that, and some of the resin incensers I've got do not smell nice at all. But you know, it's not about a nice smell, it's not a thing of convenience, it is actually about something mystical. For example, my protection incense actually absolutely stinks, really stinks, but I use it every time I work because I guess that stink is driving away evil spirits or protecting me from the evil eye or something. But it's powerful. And where the magic is powerful, the things that we think of as the nuts and bolts of everyday life are much less powerful. So it pulls us out of our comfort zone, and we learn and we grow that way. We've come down the other side a bit. Now it's just a little bit hectic up there, all that mist, but we're coming out of it now. And as we come down, we're kind of going up and down and up and down, but generally speaking we're going downwards, a bit like the ley lines. And this is what happens when you drive along a ley line. Nothing is exactly as you expect it to be. And all that mist is making me think of the mists of Avalon, which is another very sacred place. And if you've ever read the tales of King Arthur and of Merlin, you'll know about Avalon. And they also talk about a place called Glastonbury. And Glastonbury it's a real place, you can go there. But we don't know. There's some controversy as to whether that really is the Glastonbury of King Arthur, because it was so long ago. And in ancient times you got places maybe a couple of hours apart that had the same name. And a lot of people believe that the real Glastonbury was in a place that's now known as Cadbury Castle, which is also in the West Country of Britain, but it's some distance away from what we call Glastonbury. And I'll take you guys to Glastonbury one day, I will, I'm determined to. Everything's closed up at the moment, wouldn't be able to climb up Glastonbury Tor, which is the whole kind of point of it, but we'll go there one day. And Glastonbury itself is a very ancient place, even though it may not be the Arthurian one. It might be, we just don't know for sure. It's a very ancient place, and it's kind of like an island. They call it the Isle of Avalon, because there's a river that forms a ring almost all the way around. You can walk on and off, drive on and off, there's a road. And, you know, it always has been accessible. But there is this ring of water going most of the way around it, which gives it great spiritual protection and great spiritual significance. Rivers and bodies of water used to be seen as very, very sacred. I think we're coming to appreciate the sacredness of them again in these fairly modern times, when we're actually, you know, starting to learn to look back a bit on the important things of the past that have been let go of over the centuries. And the mists of Avalon are definitely a thing. And they protect Avalon. They come down around the village and no one can get in or out. It's not just to protect the village, although it is for that. It also protects people. There was one occasion I'll never forget, when I had a friend who lived in Glastonbury at the time. He's moved away now. And he's a really, really amazingly good tarot reader. His readings cost hundreds of pounds. He's absolutely amazing. He takes hours with you, and he's brilliant. And he invited me down to give me a reading. And I had a voice in my head telling me that this isn't really the best time to get a reading. But this was very early in my journey with the tarot. And so rather foolishly I ignored that voice. And I went down to Glastonbury anyway. I drove to Avalon, and I got down to a place called Newport, which is near Cardiff, the capital of Wales. And Newport is where the bridge goes across the River Severn and connects into England. And Glastonbury is only about an hour's drive from there. And this mist came down, and it was absolutely terrifying. I drove over that bridge, maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour, very, very slowly, because you couldn't actually see anything in front of you. All I could see was 2 tiny little red blobs, which were the tail lights of the car that was right in front of me. And I just inched forward, and when I saw those lights again, I would stop. Ah, now then, speaking of things closing and there being protection, let me just show you this. The road is closed, so I'm going to have to follow a diversion. So now I don't actually know where I'm going. I know where I'm headed for, Carmarthen, we'll get there. But this is full-blown Merlin territory. This really is Merlin's place. So enjoy the view. I don't know how long this is going to take, but we'll get there in the end. It's a good time to just be steeped in the magic. Now I know where we are. Back on the road again. This is the boring road though. I've come this way so many times. It's all kind of modernised and built up. But, there you go, people live here, that's the way it is. A lot of these hills would have been absolutely covered in trees at the time of Merlin. And they would probably have been oak trees. Most of the trees in Wales now are pine. Scotch pine. But back in the day it was all oak. And in a minute I'm going to show you the site of Merlin's oak, called the Royal Oak. An oak tree planted by Merlin, which was there from antiquity right through until the 1850s, and someone poisoned it in 1859 because he got sick of people congregating and gathering under it and talking. It was a popular meeting place, and this man didn't like the noise, so he poisoned the tree. But the dead tree stayed there until about 1969, I think, over 100 years, because it's a sacred tree. And there's a legend that if ever that tree was taken away, Carmarthen would flood. And in 1969 it was becoming dangerous, so they took it down, and they've kept some of it in a museum. And again, I can't take you into that museum and show you it because of the pandemic, which is still going on. But maybe when they lift the restrictions we can actually do that. I think that would be rather cool. But even though they kept the tree in Carmarthen and looked after it the best they could, Carmarthen has flooded every year since. So it's no coincidence. The magic is totally for real. Anyway, let's get a bit closer to the action, and I'll switch on again when we're coming up to this little roundabout. There's nothing really to see, but you'll know that we're in the spot of Merlin's Oak when we get there. Here we are in the heart of Carmarthen, the town centre. And it's hard to see now, but behind the houses on the right there's a hill that goes up really high, and it's been said that Merlin still sleeps under that hill. On the left there's an amphitheatre, and again I can't take you in the amphitheatre because everything's closed, but one day we'll do it. I'm looking forward to that day. We're just coming up now to the site of Merlin's Oak, where it used to be. And I'll try to edit in some pictures of it when it was still actually there. You can see a yellow building coming up ahead. That building's right on the corner. And Merlin's Oak was in the spot where that tree is now, on the right there, and we've just come round the corner that was like the epicentre of Carmarthen in the days of Merlin. So there you go, there's not a lot of it left to see, but you've seen it. Right, so I've done my shopping now. Went round the horrible vibing supermarket full of horrible vibes. And so here is that sacred site again from the other end. You can see that white blob on the road there. I think that was the original actual site. Don't really know, but this is definitely the corner exactly where it was. So there we go. Now you know. Right, back in the warm, dry house now. Thanks for coming along with me on that journey. Hope you enjoyed seeing the place where Merlin hung around, although it probably doesn't look anything like it used to look. But that really is where the Royal Oak actually was. Anyway, we'll do a reading now. I'm going to use Tarot of the Sephiroth, but first I'm going to bring us out a significatory card from this deck, which is the good old Ascended Masters by Doreen Virtue. It's been around a long time, but very intense sort of energies tend to come to the fore when we're using this deck. So let's turn over a card and see what we've got. And I'm sure Merlin is around. I'm sure he's around anyway, but this card really adds to it. We've got crystals and it's Epona. And you know, Merlin, people ask sort of, you know, when did he live? When did he die? He wasn't exactly human, you know. He was someone who took human form for a while. A bit like we all do, really. But he was very deeply in touch with his eternal soul. And that is a quest that many of us are actually on. And crystals is a brilliant medium to connect with the other side of your actual self, because the soul is eternal. You know, there's a little bit of you and a little bit of me actually alive and kicking in the afterlife as we speak. That's the nature of eternity. The soul is like a diamond, and one aspect incarnates, and then the time comes to go back to the other side. Then another aspect of that diamond incarnates, but the soul is eternal. It's always there. And since we're talking about diamonds and since we're talking about crystals, I think those two things go together rather well. So we've got Epona here riding on a unicorn. I'll bring the card in a bit closer so you can see. And she's holding a great big crystal in her hand, and there are great rays of radiant spiritual light coming out of that. There's a lot of purple in this card as well, and that is showing the healing side of things. And Merlin was the big expert on energy healing, believe me. And I'm absolutely sure he is totally alive and well. He had obviously mastered time travel. He'd obviously mastered a great many of the spiritual concepts that the rest of us really struggle with a lot of the time. But friends, I've got to say, you know, got that card there, crystals, and crystals is a way we can actually all link into that energy, and it's the way that we actually find out that we are linked to that energy. It's very reassuring, you know, to work with crystals. And I'm not drawn to any one crystal in particular. There's a crystal for everything, you know, and actually here is one crystal which works for just about anything at all. This is raw clear quartz. It's a double pointed one, and that has a significance all of its own. It's a crystal I use particularly for Reiki, actually, but I always have it around me when I'm doing readings. You can see where it's connected to the earth there. It's not a real polished example, this, but it is very beautiful, and it is full of energy. So think crystals, okay, and we'll do a 5-card reading now, and we will see what we get. First card out, 7 of discs. Essentially, friends, the 7 of pentacles. And this is great, steady progress happening. But, you know, it's never a problem to actually put the spade down. Someone's left the spade in the ground there and wandered off. Doesn't really matter because it's pure gold. The work is actually going on. And with the 7 of pentacles, we've got some of that abundance already manifest, growing on the tree there. And the energy of this card, we've got Taurus down at the bottom here, and we've got the ruling planet of Taurus up at the top there. So the Taurus energy is very much to do with taking a rest if you need to. You know, you can either kind of put a lot of work in or take a complete rest. That's the way it goes with Taurus. So that's card number 1. And you know, I like to say pick a card. I also like people to go with all 5 if possible, because there's just more of a message when you look at 5 cards. You know, you get an overview, really, a bigger overview of what's going on. So that's card number 1. Very steady progress, I would say, and a great place to start. What we got for card number 2? Oh, Pentacles again. Discs again, I should say, because in this deck, Tarot of the Sephiroth, the Pentacles are being called discs, or are the discs being called Pentacles? I don't know, but there's definitely a pentagram on the disc there that the King of Pentacles is holding up. So, again, very powerful energy. And that actually does make me think of Merlin in a big way. Where we were in Carmarthen in the video there, he is regarded as King Merlin. That's only one part of the legends of Merlin. He isn't always called a king, not by a long way. And there's a lot of mystery about it because it did happen in the Dark Ages. So things weren't being written down and taken too much account of there, which is why it's called the Dark Ages, actually, you know, because there's nothing written to shed any light on anything as we look back on it. But hey, you know, it's a mystery. We talk about mysticism, we talk about the mystical. Merlin was a mystic, so he's always going to be a bit of a mystical, a bit of a mystery. And a bit of a mystical as well, because that's what he's all about. So there we go, King Merlin showing through very clearly there. Let's have a bit more of a shuffle, turn over another card, and what have we got? Number 7, the Chariot, and this is an exciting one to get as the 3rd card in a 5-card reading because it's the middle card and this is the heart of the matter, whatever you're inquiring about in your mind at the moment. And I'm so looking forward to this Thursday because I'm inquiring about what I'm seeing at the moment. These are terrible, terrible glasses. I can hardly see a thing out of them, and I'm really lucky that I've been reading these cards for a long time because I sort of know what's on them even though I can't see it clearly. And maybe you can't see your way too clearly, friends. I think that's a definite thing that comes up when we get the Chariot card, because the Chariot is a reminder that we are all of us, all the time, on a spiritual journey of some kind or another. Just as I spoke a minute ago about the fact that part of us is an eternal soul, part of us is always up there in the afterlife, fully functioning as a spiritual being. That's hidden from our eyes, you know, and we need to make that link. But make no mistake, friends, the Chariot is here. The Chariot is a reminder that we are always on that spiritual journey. So that is card number 3. Do a little bit more shuffling here of Tarot of the Sephiroth, and we'll see what we get for card number 4. Card number 4, Major Arcana again. 2 Major Arcana ones in a row, and this is number 14. This is the Temperance card. Now the Chariot is number 7, so we've kind of doubled the magic number of 7 there. And this is very reassuring. This really lets me know that Merlin is close, actually, because we could have come up with just about any card, but I asked for guidance on this, and this is the way it's going. All very alchemical, really. And when you look at Temperance, there's water being poured into water, and as I said when we were in the car, you know, the water image was very, very important spiritually. It still is today, and I think we've got an awakening new interest in that in these modern times. But going right back to like 5000 BC or whatever, Stonehenge, for example, had a river going right up to it. The Isle of Avalon, where Glastonbury is, has a river going nearly all the way around. It's not quite a full circle, so there is land where you can cross over, but it's essentially an island. And spiritually speaking, that really matters. Glastonbury Tor, which is, it's a big subject. You know, I could talk all day and all night about Glastonbury Tor and still not have said anything. But there are springs and there are streams running under Glastonbury Tor. No one really knows what's underneath Glastonbury Tor. Many centuries ago, some monks from Glastonbury Abbey, which is now a complete stony ruin, some monks were sent under Glastonbury Tor on a mission to try and kind of find out what was under there. And there was a tunnel built from Glastonbury Abbey going right underneath Glastonbury Tor, which is a great big hill. And I think 20 monks went down there. Only 2 came back. One of them had just gone they say he'd gone crazy, they say he'd gone mad, but I don't know, maybe he was speaking in tongues, but basically nobody could understand what this guy was saying. And The other one was struck dumb, just couldn't speak at all. So we never found out what's underneath Glastonbury Tor, because it's meant to be a mystery. And I guess it always, in fact, I'm sure it always will be a mystery. So what's our outcome card now, guys? And it is the Eight of Wands. So we're in the suit of wands. We're in the suit of getting things done, basically, and fast action. The Eight of Wands means it's all happening. There's nothing we can do to stop it, and there's not much we can do to big it up either. It's just happening, and this is all about the spiritual journey in this spread. So it's happening, friends, you know. The heat is on, basically. We're all sort of moving forward on our spiritual journey all the time. A lot of people felt that when 2012 came, we would move into a kind of a faster spiritual evolution. And to be honest, all these 9 years later, now 9 years on from 2012, I can really see that happening. There are more people interested in spiritual topics all the time. There are people who totally wrote it off and thought they'd never ever believe in anything spiritual, who are actually turning to it now in bigger numbers than they used to, and I'm sure we're seeing a real good reawakening. So that's the human race speeding up and getting more done spiritually, making more progress. And this card here shows that even those of us who are aware of these things and care about these things, which I'm sure you all do, I certainly do, as you know, we are still making progress. It doesn't matter how high you go, you can always go a bit higher. That, friends, is the nature of spirituality. Anyway, on that note, thank you very much indeed for watching. Thanks everyone who's been supporting the lives. Great to meet some new people on Bathrobe Tarot with Danny Shea on the weekend, actually. Really great to meet you guys and all the people I've met through Celtic Tarot, Sheila and Kim at Intuitive You as well. It's great to be sort of in the mix with all these amazing mystical people. And that's my journey going fast. That's my Eight of Wands speeding up as the channel kind of makes progress and gathers pace. Coming up Wednesday this week is going to be the 31st of March, and that is the anniversary of the birth of modern spiritualism. Spiritualism has gone on. We know it's gone on since ancient Egypt. We can be pretty sure it's always gone on, actually. I mean, when you think of what spiritualism is and the need that people have to connect to the afterlife, I'm sure it goes right back to the very dawn of time. But in 1847, March the 31st, 1847, the Fox sisters did the first kind of public seance where people gathered round to, try and communicate with the other side. And the Fox sisters basically made it happen with a series of knocks, one knock for yes, two knocks for no, or I'm not sure actually, but it was one way around or the other. And spiritualism to this day still does it the same way. You're asked to, the medium says, I'm describing this person who's got this name and looks like this. Can you take that person? Can you relate? And you answer yes or no, and we go through it with a series of yes or no. That's kind of how spiritualism is done, and that has gone on since March the 31st, 1847. So going to be live that very night in UK time, that very day in USA time. It's going to be 9 p.m. UK time. That means 3 p.m. Central USA. So I hope you can join me then. There's going to be more live videos coming up as well at earlier times, so that I can reach people in Europe a bit better, because we do have some great friends in Europe. Be nice to do a bit more for them if we can. But anyway, there we go. The channel is moving on. Merlin and the energies are always there and are always driving us forward. Big style. These are ancient energies, but they're all about tomorrow and all the tomorrows that come again after that. So thanks guys for watching. I'll see you on the flip flop. Love, light, blessings and peace.